Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Aurum Consultants podcast. To everyone who is tuned in, Karibuni Sana. We are very glad that you've managed to tune in to this week's podcast. And today we want to discuss a few things concerning managing of the recruitment and selection process. My name is Anthony Kuria, a director in Aurum Consultants. With me is my partner, co-director Zipporah Kuria, and our guest, a HR specialist, Martha Thuku. Karibuni nyote.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Thank
Now,
you.
all right. Thank you. Karibuni sana. Now, this process of recruitment and selection, as you know, is a major part of any businessman, any entrepreneur, and any person who is looking for a job. I mean, this encompasses everyone, those who are running their businesses and those who are looking for jobs or who are in the industry, the industry of whatever area it is. And they're job seekers. There are people who are already working, and they're probably wondering, if I'm looking for my next job, what do I do? What is it that the recruiters look for? So I believe many of our listeners would want to know, how does this go? So my co-partner, Zipporah, I want to ask you a question, from a very basic point of view. What is recruitment and selection? How do you define that?
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Like Anthony has said, my name is Zipporah Kuria, an HR consultant at Aurum Consultants, and I would like to just give a chance to Martha to probably introduce herself and tell us a bit about our organization. Then we can go into the questions.
Thank you.
So, Martha.
Thank you, Zipporah. Thank you, team. My name is Martha Thuku. I'm the HR and admin manager for LVCT Health. Now, I just wanted to give a bit about LVCT Health. We are a Kenyan non-profit NGO. We are mainly funded by PEPFAR through CDC, but we have other donors that fund us. We work closely with the government and counties to deliver health solutions, especially to the very vulnerable people in our communities. We work in 25 counties of this country. Mostly, we specialize with HIV/AIDS prevention, care, and treatment. But right now, our main thing has been to kind of help the government in intervention concerning the COVID-19 emerging issues, most of which have been mental health issues, gender violence issues. Mm-hmm. And so in our organization, we have a great arm of consultants, very specialized counselors who are assisting the government in doing that. Right now, we have been engaged by many corporate organizations. They are calling us to help their staff just go through this because not many people are used, maybe e.g. to stay with their families the whole day in the house. So there are many mental health issues coming up, and our organization is just giving solutions on this. So if you are out there and you are an organization that needs to be helped, how your staff to be helped, how to deal with these mental issues, then please give me a call and I'll refer you to our able counselors, and they will be able to help you do that. Thank you so much, Zippy, for that.
Wow.
So back to the question. Thank you, Martha. Back to the question Anthony asked about recruitment and selection. And just to give a brief what this entails, is an important operation in any organization. And how we recruit, how we bring in people to the organization really matters a lot. And it dictates actually how the person is going to end up performing in the organization. It also dictates whether this person is going to be able to perform and if the organization is going to get the impact they're looking at recruiting this person. So basically, recruitment and selection is a process. But the question is, how do we then make sure we implement the right process?
All right. Wow. So it's really so from the way you are describing it, it's a process that flows from from the time an organization feels that it has a vacancy, it has a position that needs to be filled, and therefore they create a profile of the person that they would want to fill that position, and then send out invite applicants to come in. Now, Martha, tell me, as an employer or as a HR professional, where do I start if I need to fill a vacancy?
Okay, thank you, Tony, for the question.
Yes.
First and foremost, in simple terms, like when we were in school,
Yes.
we were taught that recruitment and selection is the process of finding the right people to fill vacant positions in the organization from a pool of applicants. I can tell you it is not an easy process. People just think HR managers, their work is just to recruit, you pick, you recruit. It's actual a process. And for HR, HR has evolved. So initially it was personnel management.
Sure.
It evolved to HR management. Right now we are talking managing employee experience. So HR managers are now managing employee experience, and this starts from recruitment. So that process of recruitment, how you handle it, then it helps whether you have kind of brought positive employee experience. How will the people you have interviewed talk about you after that interview? So it's very important to know where to start. And at the starting point, you need to identify the vacancy that needs to be filled.
Sure.
Or maybe there's an expansion in the organization and you need to create one vacancy or some vacancies to meet the objectives of the new initiative.
Yes.
So the process starts from there, and the HR manager will receive something we call a staff requisition form from the hiring manager or from the hiring department that has the vacancies to be filled. This document is very important. Why is it important? Because first, it tells the HR manager how many positions are we recruiting for. Then it outlines the position. It clarifies the duties and responsibilities that person will come to do. It also gives the HR manager the desired qualifications and the technical skills that then the person needs. The document also will entail the fundamental competencies. Every position, you need to highlight the fundamental competencies. So you find that the JD has the technical skills, but what are the soft skills needed for this position for it to be successful? And then, of course, the experience. In the document, I've worked in the NGO sector for a while. So because we are NGOs are mostly funded by donors, then that document will also say, when we recruit that person, which charging code are we going to charge that position? The document will also tell us whether it will be a full-time, part-time, is it permanent or temporary position?
Yes.
And if maybe, there are some positions that arise because someone kind of exited. So the HR manager also needs to check the exit interview document of the person who left, because then also the information there can help you determine this new person, what kind of person are we looking for? Is it the salary that made them pay? Do we need to adjust the salary? There is a lot that goes in when you are bringing in a new person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. There you've put in a number of points that concerning the whole process, from putting out a layout of what you want in the person that you want to recruit, if it's a sizable organization, then they have various departments. So the department that wants to hire then will need to give a profile of what they want in terms of core skills and soft skills. And obviously, if the position you are, somebody who exited, then you need to replace that vacant position with someone else. Then doing an exit interview with the previous candidate, the previous employee will give an idea. Thank you, Martha. That's you've made it very clear. And to our listeners, we invite your comments through Facebook. Please send any comments you might have, any questions you might have. We'll look through them and we'll answer them. We'll try and answer them within this live podcast. Zippy, probably you could tell us, from a business and non-profit point of view, how do you then, Martha has discussed a bit about from the NGO world, the non-profit point of view. From the business for-profit point of view, what's your take?
Thank you, Anthony. I think Martha has tackled some of the things actually that cut across whether it's an NGO or a corporate organization. And the first place to start is identify the vacant position and know why is this vacant position vacant in the first place. Again, you need to look at your manpower planning if this is a corporate and see, does it fit into the plans? Is this a new position? Is this something that is coming up because of expansion? Do we have the necessary budgets to actually do recruitment for this position? The other thing that Martha has mentioned, which cuts across, is the job profile. Is there a profile for this position that we are recruiting for that will actually dictate then how do we go about this recruitment? The other thing that you need to consider is what channels are you going to use to bring in this person that you want to recruit? Are you going to recruit internally? Are you going to recruit externally? If you're going to recruit externally, then what measures are you going to put in place? What channels are you going to use in order to actually do this recruitment? The other thing is for corporates, most of them are guided by a recruitment policy. You have to make sure, again, you follow the recruitment policy in place so that, again, you don't have issues later after you have recruited. Again, the process was followed. The other thing that you need to also be aware about is what are the timelines if you're going to start this recruitment? Is it going to take a week? Is it going to take a month? What are the timelines given so that, again, you know how to plan around it? The other issue that you need to look at when you're recruiting, now this comes to when it comes to the actual job selection. When you start now doing the selection, you have advertised, people have applied, shortlisted, and now you get to the actual interview, and you interview and you get to a place where you have narrowed down to one or two candidates. Then there's something we also call a culture fit. Then how do you ensure this person who is coming in actually fits into the culture of the organization? What are some of the processes you have put in place to ensure, again, an employee is able to, weigh in and see, do I fit into the culture of this organization? Again, you end up giving an offer to this candidate, and of course, if they accept the offer, then you end up into the contractual aspect of it, then induction. And again, the process goes on until the employee is settled in the organization.
All right.
I wanted to add a bit, Zippy, you have done very well. There are some few things also that HRs need to check, even as they post the jobs. You find that, especially if it's a job that is a higher position, it is very important that you first check whether you have that skill internally. So advertising internally helps so much because it's kind of a tool for motivation for staff. So if you can get that higher position internally, I really recommend that. You go out only if you cannot find that skill internally. The other thing you consider, and you find most organizations, when you talk about HR, I work in an NGO, but HR, I don't have an NGO related HR practice. HR is the same everywhere. I can work in an NGO, I can work in any industry, but the processes are the same. The application may differ from policy to policy.
Yes,
but
yes.
everything is the same. And one of the things that HR people meet, they need to meet is, as much as you are looking for the talent, the skill, the technical skill, you need to look also at the leadership competencies that you need for that position.
Exactly.
They need to come out so much even in the JD.
Yes.
Especially because then, let's say you are recruiting a HR person, and the person who is the best candidate does not have that human kind of face that a HR needs, then that is not the best fit for that position. So where you look at leadership competencies, let's say you are employing an executive or a head of the organization, there are some key competitive fundamental competencies that they need. One of them maybe could be collaboration. That is, do they have a ability to build strategic alliances? The organization is not just a known entity.
Yes,
So you need strategic alliances. Then they need to have another competency of influencing, ability to gain mileage and to get cooperation from people. If it's a manager, the competency here would be managing people. How do they manage people? You know, there are some people who are very arrogant. So they have staff and they think these people have been put for them to deal with them the way they want. You need someone who is able to manage people effectively. So those are some of the things that you need even to check before even you put the advert. Because then in the advert, you need to put those skills so that whomever is applying gets to know that. The other thing most of organizations are doing now, we are using a system for ZP talked about shortlisting, and that can also go through processes. Like when you are using a system, the candidates are applying from the system, you design that system to ask specific questions. Because I have found in Kenya, there are so many people who they see an advert and they apply. They don't care whether they have the skills that are needed. So the system is able to ask specific questions. And when those people apply, the system is able to sift them. So you will not have 1,000 applicants when you go to check your position. So after you have done that, then you'll find the people you have been left with kind of fit in the category you need. Then the next thing to do is to shortlist those people. And one of the things you can do, you can even send a questionnaire online for the things that you want. So that whomever, when they return back, you will be able to sift to maybe between 5 and 10 that you would want to meet face to face. And that's how now you call those people for interview.
Wow.
Yeah.
Martha, you have actually answered the next question that I had for you. You've partly, in a way, you've actually answered part of what I wanted to ask you, because sometimes you wonder, okay, you have put in place a system, you have, say, you need to employ an accountant, you need to employ a financial controller, you have identified the skill sets, you've identified this is what we need. Probably it's, you are recruiting to replace somebody who has left. Now, there's something that you've said there that probably briefly you could elaborate further. You've talked about some companies putting in place a computer system which, in a sense, sifts the people, the candidates who are hiring. And my question was, what process do I need to put in place to hire right? Now, on that particular place that you have put in of a system that sifts the candidates to reduce the number to something manageable, probably you could tell us, apart from that, are there any other ways that you can put in place, processes that you can put in place to at least try and hire right?
There are very many ways that you can do that. The first and most specific, the first that is very critical is ensure that the technical skills are very clear. And the job, what we call the job specifications, are the ones I'm calling fundamental competencies, that they are very clear. So that even as the person is applying, they are able to evaluate themselves whether they fit in this role.
Okay.
And apart from the system, so most HR people, they find they would want maybe to hire out a consultant to do this because it's a tedious process, and the consultants they have the time to put in to be able to do the right thing, so that the organization gets the right people.
Okay.
So if you hire a consultant, then you know that you will only get 2 finalists that you will deal with, and the consultant will be able to do all these other things. So that's another way that I look at it that you can do. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Anthony, if you can allow me to jump in on that question again. I think I will go back to something I mentioned earlier about the recruitment policy. And this again comes from an environment where I have seen where there is no recruitment policy, then again you find either HR managers or business owners struggle to do recruitment. And you find sometimes because we don't have any document to guide us on how we do our recruitment, sometimes we pick every person who is either looking for a job, sometimes it could be relatives, and we end up actually not hiring right. And this is where you find organizations at some point start to struggle because there was no process in the first place that was put in place that defines, as an organization, if we have a vacant position, then what is the procedure? What is a policy that we have put in place to guide us if we are going to actually do any form of recruitment? So again, I think for any HR person listening, or for our business people who are listening and you want to hire, I think it's important for you to have a guideline to guide you when it comes to recruitment. And this will actually eliminate a lot of issues like having to hire relatives, or having to have, situations where the hiring process again is flawed and you did not procedure. Where there are big organizations, again, you find sometimes you might recruit and you get to a place where the whole process is actually being declared null and void, and you have to restart again from square one. So again, the recruitment policies are a very key document to guide us.
Thank you, ladies. You putting, and I believe many of our listeners who are listening in, who are tuning in, they are relating to some of the things that you're talking about, issues to do with, especially from a business or HR perspective, about putting in place a policy guiding on how the process ought to take place. And then now from there, then you now bring in the issues of job-specific issues. For example, if you're hiring, you want to hire a marketer, then what are we looking for? Do we have issues to do with gender sensitivity? Nowadays, that's something that comes up a lot. If there are issues to do with a role, and I'd presume both you, Zippy, and Martha, I don't know whether you've dealt with this, but I've heard of places where companies, especially multinationals, they might feel, okay, in a certain position, probably let's hire somebody from outside the country. We get them a work permit to come in and fill in this position. So I would presume if you are to go that direction, then there are also other implications to look. Now, Martha, there's something you said there earlier. And again, I like the way you are just, it's like I ask a question and you're answering the question that I intended to ask next. Yeah, I like that. There's something you said there about the recruitment process being tedious and involving, and you mentioned the idea of outsourcing. Yeah, one of the ways to do it, to hire right, is outsourcing the whole process of selection to a consultant outside there. Now, I wanted to find out, apart from outsourcing, getting a competent consultant whom you can be able to delegate that work. If you were to do that, say you in your position, if you were to do that, then what competencies, what criteria would you use to get a competent consultant to handle that?
Okay, as Zippy has alluded about the integrity of recruitment process. Yes. So even for organizations, mostly we recommend that the consultants you are using, they are first pre-qualified. So when you pre-qualify the consultants, that means you go through you even have referrals where they have done it before. So by the time you're engaging a consultant, you know that they know their job, and you know that they will give you what you are looking for.
All right.
So that's what we do. We use, so when we pre-qualify, we use who now we have taken through the process of pre-qualifications. We have gotten their recommendations. So and we put them in our database. So those are the ones we use to help us hire.
All right. Thank you. I want to appreciate our listeners, our viewers. Thank you for the comments that we're getting in. We are getting lots of comments. I can see Suzy making lots of comments. She's appreciating what Martha is doing. Jackie Mora, thank you for that, for the comments that you've put in. I really appreciate this, because this is a conversation where from whatever perspective you look at it from, whether you're an employee seeking for a job, whether you're an employer, a business person, a company, an entrepreneur who is looking to fill in certain positions, this is a very critical position, because if you start it right, as my partner Zipporah said, if you start it right, then you'll be able to go ahead with that person in a smooth way, and you'll create an organization where there are no tags and disharmonies and things like that. Now, to my partner Zippy, I would like to ask you a question, and Martha probably will jump in and answer this also. What challenges do employers face when recruiting and selecting candidates?
Assuming you're directing that question to me?
Yes, I was directing a question to you about the challenges. Employers. I didn't know it right.
Yeah. Yes. I think there is a lot of challenges employers face when it comes to recruitment. And number one is because, and I'm talking from a perspective of business owners, where sometimes they don't know where to start or how to hire right in the first place. So you find, because they don't understand the whole process, a lot of challenges end up coming up. And earlier I mentioned about situations where you find you hire a friend or you hire a relative, and there's no process that you have followed. So this actually brings about a lot of challenges when you're having to do recruiting. The other challenge that I have noticed is, and I keep on hearing this a lot, where people will tell you there are no jobs in Kenya, there are no jobs around, we have a lot of unemployment around. And the truth is, there are companies that are hiring. Again, having the right skill sets in order to be able to get the opportunities that are available is a very critical issue. And again, challenges come in when you receive so many applications, but the applications you're getting, sometimes you don't find the right fit for the position you're looking for, because people are desperate looking for jobs and they just flock in all sorts of CVs. So again, it's important, again, for applicants who are looking for jobs to know, what is this job really asking for? And am I a right fit for this position? And if I'm not a right fit for this position, then what do I need to do as a person to actually put myself in a place where I'm able to get a job opportunity? So it's very critical, even as we are looking for people to fill into these positions. Number one, to understand what is a process as an employer that I'm using to attract the right candidates. And number two, for people applying for these jobs, do I really fit into this position? Because if I don't fit in, then I don't end up being shortlisted or being called into the interview table. And again, I've had a lot of accusations where HRs have been accused, they don't give responses back. You can imagine if you have advertised for a position and you receive 200 CVs. I mean, it's going to be very tedious to actually just shortlist and get right down to the people you need to interview. So again, there's a lot of, nuts and bolts that have to be put in together for you to make sure, again, you're having to do this process right. So yes, challenges are there, but again, there are solutions to those challenges, like Martha has mentioned. There are professionals who can help you actually do these recruitments in the right way.
Yes.
And maybe I can add to what Zippy is giving. So there are other challenges also that employers get.
Yes.
So like in HR, you might find you have done the whole recruitment process,
Yes.
and you fail to get the right candidate after you are done with the recruitment.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could come maybe because maybe the JD was not very clear, and maybe the HR manager and the recruiting managers were not in sync. So it is very important that when you are drafting that JD, you work together so that you're able to attract the right candidate.
Yes.
The other thing that happens is you find some of the candidates, they come with fake documents.
Okay.
So they bring you a degree, certificate, an MBA certificate, a PhD. You also even find a CV. Maybe they paid someone to do their CV. So when you're shortlisting, you find that this very good CV. But when you call in the candidate, they don't even understand what is in their CV. So those are some of the challenges we get. And then also, you find a candidate who is very good. And there's something we do before we hire a person. We hire someone, especially a successful candidate.
Yes.
We call it background checks. So you find this person, the people they give as their referees are their friends. So they give very good references, but really where they came from, where they were working before, it could have been either they were fraud or they had issues. That's why they were sacked. But they are not telling you they were sacked.
Yes.
But so they come in and they bring what they had from wherever they came from.
Yes.
So, and that's why as HRs, we need to go an extra mile even before this person reports. It's better even to call. You can call that organization. You might find you have called an organization and you are told, that person worked here 10 years ago. And this is where he's saying was their last employer. So, they could look small, but those things are really the challenges that most employers face when they are recruiting. Thank you so much.
Wow, Martha, you've put in some things there that I would assume the typical mid-sized company. If a few of our listeners, I'm sure, I mean, they are probably the HR managers in medium-sized companies that deal with with issues to do with people bringing in fake certificates, bringing in resumes that they have stolen from somebody, and they're bringing in and trying to impress us in order to come in, us as recruiters, for example. And now I can see the comments are on fire. We are getting very good comments from Jackie Mora. I like the questions, some of the questions comments she's put in there. I like that bit of business owners. They are really struggling because of hiring friends and relatives. Another comment by Jackie Mora: hiring managers, they want to fill positions like yesterday, but are not willing or familiar with the hiring process. What do you think they need to know to appreciate the process? I don't know. Probably that question was not quite well clearly framed, but I don't know.
Anthony, if you allow me, probably I can take on that question about hiring managers. What they want is a position filled in like yesterday, but not willing or not familiar with the hiring process. What do they think they need to know to appreciate the process? Number one, I think we have mentioned earlier, what is the reason for hiring in the first place? Why are you wanting to fill this position? The other question I would ask is, why are you in a hurry to actually fill in a position without following the due process? Because if you hire wrong, you will actually face repercussions later. Like Martha has mentioned earlier, we have seen situations where a candidate actually has shown up for an interview because they've been shortlisted. their CV is looking very good. Even them as a person, they represent themselves very well. But again, you also start realizing there are challenges when they immediately actually get into the actual job and they start doing the job. And it comes back to the issues of, did we do the due process? Did we do our background checks? Did we understand why they left their previous jobs in the first place? Did we look at the job profile? Was it clear to understand whether this person is actually able to fit in? So for recruiting managers and business owners, I think I need to encourage you. We need to stop hiring like, like we are in a hurry, or hiring like it's an emergency. You can delay your hiring process for a week or two, or even a month, but you make sure you actually end up having the right person in that position. Otherwise, you'll struggle along the line. And that's why, again, you find sometimes you give contracts, and before the probation period, again, you are having to terminate that contract because this person is not performing as opposed to what the expectations were. So again, let's go back to our processes and set the processes right.
Awesome.
And maybe I can add, Tony, those HR people, I think the thing they should do is train their managers on the HR policies, especially in the area of recruitment. So when a manager would want someone to report tomorrow, because in their mindset, all you need is to call. Some of them will even bring you a CV.
Yes.
This one has the qualifications I need. What they don't know, hire them and they report tomorrow. Yes. I want to see them in my office tomorrow. But what they don't know is that it's not just picking someone and bringing in. It is like the way ZP and I have explained about a whole process, including background checks. I could be your friend, Tony, but all you know is what you know, but you don't know really the deep things about me.
Exactly.
So just because of my face and maybe the relationships we have had, you keep recommending me, not knowing where I have come from, or not knowing when I'm not in the limelight where you see me, what do I do with myself behind that? And what are my earlier employers saying about me? So we need to educate our hiring managers. It's okay to take them in a 30-minute session on recruitment, and then explain to them that you need this position may be needed urgently, but please, we need to go through this process. So you work with the timelines of the HR process, not work with the timelines that the manager needs the person tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you.
And again, allow me to chip in on the issue of background checks. And I find myself with challenges when a candidate comes for an interview and you ask, can I actually call your previous employer, and they are not comfortable with it? That actually tells you something about this candidate. And normally, sometimes you find a candidate as given a former colleague as their reference. Sometimes I think it's important for us, if we are hiring, to actually take a step further and actually talk to the HRs, talk to the immediate supervisor for this person, try and do a little bit of digging to understand how was the performance of this person? Why did they leave this organization in the first place? Can I trust to actually engage this person, or will I engage them? Then a few months down the line during their probation, I start realizing, the gaps and the cracks. So it's important for us when we are hiring to actually do a thorough job, so that by the time you're giving someone an offer, you're not feeling disappointed, I made a mistake hiring. Because these mistakes happen, and they are very costly to organizations. Like your earlier question about the process being very tedious. It's not only tedious, it's very costly. If you look at the man hour that goes into recruiting just one position, the cost implication is very high. So better do it, and do it right in the first place.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, ladies. I mean, today we have, as somebody would say, we are setting this podcast alight with some of the nuggets that we are all hearing from here. And many of our listeners, I can see comments. Susie saying great nuggets there. and and many other comments that are coming up. There are questions that are coming up, and one of the things I want us to do, probably Martha, next week, as we come to the end of our podcast, we want you to come in next week if you can, or in a few weeks' time, so that we can discuss this topic further. Because as you know, many employers, many hiring managers, many employees, people who are looking, people out there, graduates, people out there who are looking to know what do I need to do to get into that interview room, and when I get into that interview room, what do I need to do to be able to impress my interviewers so as to be able to get the job? That's something that it's a big deal, and I'm sure many of our listeners would want to know more about about this recruitment process, how it is managed, how it is done for the benefit of the company and for the benefit of the person being hired. Unfortunately, our time is up. I can see it's already time to say goodbye. For those of you listening to us, we are Aurum Consultants. Our website is www.aurumconsultants.co.ke. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything that you'd like to know more about us, about what we do and how we can help in the HR and risk advisory space, send your comments, send your questions, whatever it is that you'd want to know more, to know from us. We are welcome to hear your comments. We're welcome to hear your queries, and we'll be glad to partner with you. Martha, we thank you for coming in today. Thank you for coming in. You've answered many of the questions here. I can see from the responses on our listeners' comments, there are many, and they're thinking that you're doing a good job, and would love to have you here next time. My colleague, my partner Zipporah, would you like to give one last comment as we go?
I think there's a lot to discuss about recruitment and how we can help our viewers recruit right. And I would say there's a lot of comments, a lot of questions coming in. We will respond to these questions in our next podcast. So prepare to tune in, and we'll be able to give you conclusive responses to those questions. Again, thank you for tuning in.
All right. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Thank you.